Hey guys, and welcome to another Polymer clay tutorial. Today we are going to create the Viking Village and the ship on top of the mountain from Fortnite Season 5, and we are even trying to add some real water to the scenery with this tiny water pump. I'm really looking forward to create today's creation, not only because it is another tiny map. You decided that I should create the mountain with a Viking ship. I think it is called just Viking Village, right? But also because we will include this water pump mechanism, and I'm really looking forward to that. But for now, let's get started. We use some old clay I have collected a lot over the years. And this is the best way to create the structure underneath to get the mountain into the real shape as we need it to be. This is the map I printed out from the game itself, so it is not really high resolution. But for all the tiny details, we will use some gameplay from my Switch. But especially when creating the mountain from different perspectives, it was quite helpful that I used two screens. I had the iPad on the left side, where I could see the mountain from the left side, and my Switch on the right side with the right perspective. Now, this is the structure under the waterfall, and while creating right now, I didn't even know I would include the water mechanism, so I was just happily creating. Look at that dumb creator, not knowing what the final product will look like. And then I was taking a nap and I awoke and I just thought, hey, we have to include water. But now let's mix the very thin layer of the color of the mountain. And of course, this was heavy. This always depends on the lighting conditions in the game. So I just decided to go with a little bit more red, so the sun is about going down in the game in Fortnite, and I think it matches the color perfectly. So we are coating the dirty old clay. Of course, we also could have gone with a different filling material, maybe aluminum foil, not sure about that. So if you don't have that much old clay, I would go with aluminum foil maybe, yeah. So now we have coated, we finished the coating process, and I start working on all the gaps with my modeling tool. And there's this tiny way across the tiny river from the waterfall, so the first plateau. And this is way up, and also working on some details of the rock of the stone. Now this is the second layer we are creating, also very thin. I mixed in two different kinds of green. This is also depends on your taste. You can go whatever you would like to go, but I think it is always great to mix in different colors and don't mix it too strong that it still looks quite natural. So now we are putting the grass everywhere where it is growing. That makes sense. So when you look from the top, all the creation should look green, of course, because you don't see the rocks. Maybe this is where the rain falls, the grass is able to grow. But this is just one idea. Why the grass is always only growing on top. Well, I should talk about something different. Yeah, I added some more gray to the stone, to the rocks, and this is the first part of the way. It is a bit bigger and muddier right next to the water, but now we will also add some ochre for the tiny ways and I really tried to get the right positions. I used the scalpel for marking the clay underneath, and now we can place very thin lines of ochre. And this is not the final version. I will work on the ways with the modeling tool, of course, but there were some darker spots. This is the area where the pine trees are growing. So I tried to get these locations as well, and now I'm using the modeling tool for the ways, the way up to the mountain of the Viking Village. I am not really sure what this location was before, what it looked like before season 5. I really don't know. Was it just a mountain without the Viking Village and the ship? Or was it different? Let me know if you know that, and write it please in the comments down below. So now we are adding some more mud and brown clay. This means brown clay. I really liked the look of this special layer of mud, because it really looks like as if it is dripping down, just marking the area where the tiny lake will be. Later on, working on some further details, and there's the way up to the big hut, to the very big building. I think this was the big challenge of this project, to get all the positions right of every tiny hill, for example this one in the background, or later after oven hardening we are painting these tiny snow spots, and I wanted to get them right. So when you see my tutorial, that you are able to compare it, and you can play it on the second screen maybe, and you watch the video, my video on the other screen, and then you can compare. And this is always fun. This is what I did after I finished this creation. Now we need some dark blue clay, and this will go into this area. I tried to make it really deep, and I had in mind that the water should flow and start right there. I think even in the game there is a tiny cave. At least it looks like that. I know that you can't go inside. So also the blue of the river, and this will be the stop for the water. This is why the blue clay is a bit higher at the end, at the edge of my creation. And now this is the bubbly water for the waterfall effect. Mixing white and turquoise. And don't mix it too strong in order to get these nice lines to the water. It already looks amazing. If I hadn't decided to go with a water pump, I would have taken liquid clay, and this would have looked quite nice to see the liquid clay floating down the waterfall, and after that some transparent polish to get a really shiny water effect. But well, life is hard when you take a water pump. No liquid clay, no transparent polish, but nice tiny roofs. And I made 3 layers, because when you go inside the game and make a comparison, you see that the roof is very bright at the top and gets darker when it goes to the side. And as it is made out of straw, I used the scalpel for the texture work on the roof. Is it really straw or leather? Would that make sense? Did the Vikings use leather for their roof? I don't know. Yeah, I really liked these 2 tiny landing stages. They totally make sense. Or not. Well, the water isn't that deep, but we are creating the Viking ship right now. Of course, this is always a decision on how many details you want to throw into your creation. But at least we had to create the horse face. Or is it the llama? I wasn't sure while creating. And there are these tiny shields on the side of the ship. And now we are mixing some gray for all the tiny stones. So placing them also on the paper, and this one will go into the oven as well, the paper. It never burned before, till now. And there are 3 tiny tents at the right side when you look at the front of the ship, of the scenery, and this fireplace. And these are the wooden planks which will work as fence or palisade, and these will go on the back side of the creation. And now all the tiny trees. In the whole creation we have 3 different types of trees. You may have noticed that before. No, even 4. Well, we have these birches. Are these birches? Then we have the leaf trees, which are basically only on the top of the mountain. And later I will show you, this is the big pine trees, which are very dark green, and later I show you some tinier pine trees which are a bit brighter. So how to create tiny trees which actually look like a pine tree. So I decided to go with a scalpel and some tiny pieces of clay. I just stick them into the trees. This is some turquoise and brighter green, and this will give us a nice color for the smaller trees, the smaller ones. And after oven hardening we will just go crazy and decorate them all over the place. No, I'm serious, you know me. I will seek out the exact positions for each tree, of course. And this is the hole I was digging for the water fountain, and we are ready to go into the oven. Freshly baked mountain! Yeah, this is just a mountain, it has no further name, does it? This will be the part where the water is able to flow back into the water pump. And this is a tiny tube I'm using. And now we add some water to the whole creation, and I wanted to be sure that it all works before gluing all the tiny details onto the creation. No! This was too much, but luckily the water pump can be tuned, so I turned down the pump a little bit, and this looks nicer. Yeah, so we go with that. But now, after drying, this took some time, we will work on all the details of the top of the mountain of the Viking Village. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. And now we will glue every building, every hut on top of the mountain. Now let's get serious. We still have some work to do, for example, to glue the Viking ship in the middle of the river of the waterfall, and I was looking forward to glue and assemble all these tiny pieces on top of the mountain. It was tricky, of course, especially when working with a super glue. Just be careful with that. And now we are adding the birch, the 4 birches as well. And after that, oops, forgot one tree. Also the big pine trees. But we start with the trunk first. 6 of them. And now we can glue the pine trees on the creation. Wow. And now let's play with these tiny ones and glue them onto the exact positions and also the tents. I didn't made enough tiny trees and I didn't want to do another process of oven hardening and baking, so some trees are missing, but they are just in the backside, so you won't see that I failed there. I printed out this sail and this goes onto the creation as well. Before we are finished, tomorrow there will be another tutorial. I'm really excited about something very different, and well, I really hope to see you tomorrow as well, so in just a few hours. Placing the last tiny piece onto the ship, and guys, that's it! The Viking Village! I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Now it's time for the size comparison between the mountain and tilted towers and the crater, of course. Look at that. Whoa, the crater is still so huge. But look at the height of the mountain. Also quite impressive. Yeah, I'm working on the big map. Someday, maybe when I'm 60, I will be finished with the whole Fortnite map. I guess that's it for today. Don't forget, tomorrow there will be another tutorial, so see you tomorrow. Take care, bye! Ever seen the ClayClaim water fountain? That was a bad idea. Oh no. See you tomorrow.